All right, this is One Last Midnight. Welcome back to another episode of Astroneer 1.0, a helpful guide. I don't know what to call these series. There's like little quick tips, helpful guide. This time we're going to try to understand power. So power is not something that is, you need power at your base, but maybe you don't really understand how much power you need or what gives you power and what kind of quantity that gives you. I hope this guide is helpful to you. Enjoy the video. Let's talk about power. So power is everything in Astroneer. You can't get anything done without having power. Luckily, when you land on a planet, your hab provides a limited amount of power. This kind of looks like the RTG later in the game, but at least your hab will provide some power for your basic buildings. So if you want to get a smelter up, or you want to get a research station going, but you don't have power yet, you can provide power by using your hab. Now, how much power does the hab provide? Okay, we have to look at this little power gauge here. Let's make the assumption, and this is true, that this gauge is a measure of 4 units. So with that in mind, if I connect the hab up to this, you'll see that this gauge goes up 1/4. So the hab is providing 1 single unit of power. Let's call it an amp because we're measuring power. So let's call it an ampere. We'll call it an amp for short. So the hab provides by itself 1 amp. Not a lot of power when you're talking about running multiple items. When you're running a single item, it's good to have like your research going in the very beginning of the game, and that way you can at least power your research. But once you start firing up the smelter or the printer, or even using power from your hab off of tethers, you're going to notice that things run really slow. So it's not going to be that valuable. So your first power source is already unlocked for you in the game is the small generator. It runs off of organic, which is easy to find. So your small generator winds up producing the same single 1 unit that your hab will produce. So if I put these and combine these together, you're going to see that it's going to go up to 2 units, and I have 2 units of power running. This is great, but the small generator, of course, requires a fuel source, and you need to constantly fill it. Now, you could put our small generator on a small storage or medium storage, excuse me, and fill your medium storage with organic, and it will auto feed. So that way you can walk away from it and you don't have to worry about it going away. Another power source that you have early game that's available to you relatively cheap is the small wind turbine and the small solar. Now the small solar, when the sun is up, produces 0.5 amps. So not as good as the generator, but they're pretty easy to make. 1 copper. Also, if wind is available, the small wind will also provide 0.5, and those are also easy to make with 1 glass. Get a quartz, can refine it, get your 1 glass, and you're in good shape. The next step up in power is the medium solar. Now the medium solar will provide 2 units of power. This is fantastic, especially if you can get it unlocked early game, because when the sun is up and if you have multiple of these running, you're not going to have a problem. You're not going to have a problem running your base. The wind turbine, however, is variable speed, and this is true for the small and the large wind turbine. It's variable. If the wind is not blowing, it's not producing any power. The wind turbine is only producing 1. So even if you have the better bet would be to do the large solar because it provides 2, or the medium solar, which provides 2, and the medium wind turbine is only going to provide 1. The solar array, when it's powered, will provide you anywhere up to 4 amps of power. Let me get this plugged in. A little tricky to select it. And you can see it goes all the way up to the top. So it provides you with 4 amps of power, which is great, but this is more later game. It does cost a lot of bytes and it takes a little bit to build, but it will provide you significant amount of power. So if you have multiple of these and you have a pretty significantly large base, you should be okay. There's also the RTG. The RTG is another unit that is also very difficult to make. It's a lot of bytes, 10,000 bytes to unlock, but it will provide almost 4 units to your base. And if you have a large base, you're probably going to want to have I don't know, 2, maybe 3 of these working at any given point in time. Now, the RTG is kind of interesting. It's a portable power device. You can put it on vehicles, you can put it on your base, and it doesn't require anything else to run. Doesn't require sun, doesn't require wind. Once you build it, it's constantly providing power, very similar to your base. All right, let's look at the medium generator. The medium generator is also another type of generator that consumes a particular item to run. This particular generator requires you to have carbon to run. Now, carbon is organic that has been processed through the smelter. So you're using power to generate a resource that will then be used to generate power. I don't know if that's almost like saying I'm using power to produce corn that will then turn around and produce biofuel. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But the generator in and of itself will produce 3 amps. And it seems to run for a pretty decent amount of time. It consumes it relatively slowly, but it does consume it. And so that's something that you're going to have to do to maintain to keep that power running. You could also turn it off and on once it's powered. Once it starts consuming, you can't take that resource off, but you can flip it on and off, just like the small generator. The last item that produces power that we want to look at are the power cells. Now, the power cells take a zinc, this particular power cell, and the power cell will produce 1 amp, but it's consumed pretty quickly. So you're not going to be able to run your items for very long off of this little power cell. And you know, it's great in a bind. It's not necessarily something that you want to try to run your base off of. That's for sure. If you need to have a little extra power, it's the way to go. There's 2 ways to store power. Currently, you can use a small battery, which only winds up holding 8 bars of power, and it will return it at 1 amp. Or you can use a medium battery that has 16 bars and returns the rate at 3 amps. So you can see 3 amps are being consumed. But if you have multiple batteries set up, chances are you're not going to run out of power throughout the night. You're going to be able to work and do your stuff at the base. Okay, now that we've talked about power production, let's talk about power consumption. So every single base building unit, such as the research chamber or the smelter, or it doesn't matter, large printer or the atmosphere condenser, takes power to run. It's kind of tricky knowing and understanding how much power each item takes. I don't even know if I know the mapping of how much item each power takes. Astroneer kind of deals with this differently. Okay, if you listen to the research chamber, it's telling you that it's out of power. When you first hook up your research chamber, let's say just to the hab, it's not getting a lot of power. You can hear it moving. It's moving slowly. You don't really know that it's moving slowly until you start adding more power in. It does give you an indicator down here on the bottom that lets you know, hey, look, I need more power to be fully optimal. But each one of these base buildings are variable speed. So as I add more power, you can hear the research chamber come up to full speed. This is maximum speed for this power, or maximum speed for this research chamber, because I'm sitting at its max. I'm sitting at what its required amount is. So you'll hear it run at full speed. If we had a scenario where we had multiple items running and drawing power, it would take away and it would evenly distribute the power to several different items. The problem is you really don't know how much each item takes to run. I don't even know that I know, but you can see that some of these items are probably running at a higher rate, like the atmosphere condenser. The atmosphere condenser, from my understanding, takes 6 amps to run. The large printer is another item that takes 4 or 5 amps to run. What you're just going to have to do is you're just going to have to listen to your base. It sounds weird, but yes, listen to your base. You're going to quickly distinguish what is running at full power and what is running at half power or quarter power. All right, well, I hope you found my power tutorial tip helpful. And if you haven't already, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. We have a great community. And you guys can follow my social media. All my links are in the description below. I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit that like button if you liked the video and subscribe to our channel so you can stay on top of all of our latest video releases. I release content almost every day. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.